So I realize I've been gone for a while, and I just kind of wanted to make sort of a video. Well, I guess video is probably not the right term. This would be more of a podcast. This is something if you want to throw on your phone or listen to while you do chores or paint or whatever. You can do that. There's really no video to go along with this. I just kind of wanted to take some time to sort of catch folks up and discuss what's been going on and where I've been and what sort of happenings have been going on and the direction I want to take with the channel. So hopefully you've got some time to listen and I can discuss those things. But basically, for a while, I've been kind of stuck on how to move forward doing videos in two different ways. One is a matter of time, and it's not, it is and it isn't having the time to do the videos. I have the free time. It's just that when the free time comes available, sometimes all I want to do is sit and veg. And then there's other times that I have free time, but it's not optimal recording time. It's during the day when the phone might ring or one of the kids might need something or the dog will start barking or whatever. And that's not a metaphor for anything. I mean, literally the dog will start barking, and when a 75-pound Labrador Retriever needs attention, he needs attention. So getting time free to do these webcasts, whether it's a video or just kind of an audio stream like this, has been sort of difficult. But I hope to eke out some time to be able to do these a little bit more frequently than I have in the past. Now, back in April of 2017, I did 3 or 4, I can't remember, I'll have to go back and look, video pieces where I went through and I painted up my Dwarven Forge. I had some of their new black resin dungeon tiles, or no, I guess plastic, they call it Dwarvenite. Very, 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 very durable plastic. But I went through those, sort of a crafting video, and I recorded it with my phone, and I stuck it up on Facebook. But I didn't really do anything with it on YouTube, and one of the things I want to do is clean that up and bring that to you, I guess, for what would technically qualify as Season 3. I'm a little hesitant going forward to say season this and season that, because this is turning into like the British TV equivalent of seasons. 3 episodes, a year passes by. 4 episodes, 2 years pass by. 6 episodes. I don't really want to do that. I want to start making videos again regularly enough that there isn't this long, hideous, huge pause. And to that end, something that will hopefully motivate myself to get them done and maybe draw in an audience is I decided to set up a Patreon. And if you want to throw me a few bucks in that, that's fine. The link is down below in the description. If you don't want to, that's fine. But the one thing that I did discover over the last year and a half is that, and I know this may come as a big shock, brace yourselves, Google's metrics are completely screwed. Unless you started doing this in, say, I don't know, 2014, 2015, or sooner than that even, and you've got hundreds of thousands of viewers, millions of viewers, you're just not going to make it on YouTube. You're just not. They've rigged the game, and that's not sour grapes. I mean, that is what it is. That's the way they've decided to make their business work. And I've seen way more popular YouTubers than me. Ross's Game Dungeon is one. And he's just getting demonetized left, right, and center. Why? Nobody knows. Nobody at Google will talk about the algorithms or how they work. Now, that's not a problem for me. I wasn't rolling in bucks. I wasn't, going to rely on this for a way of life or anything like that. But there are people who had hopes of doing that sort of thing. And it's just not going to happen. So I'm going to set my tin cup out down on Patreon, and hopefully, if you guys want to throw me some beer money or some money to buy some products to review or something like that, that's fine. Again, if you don't want to, you don't have to. I think my goals are fairly realistic. I may adjust those, expand them, tighten them up, whatever. We will see. We will see. But to talk specifically about what you want to hear, when I started thinking about, excuse me, when I started thinking about what I wanted to do to restart the channel, my initial thought was, well, there's a lot of stuff, and I'm really hot under the collar about this person said this thing, and that guy tweeted that thing, and these people are saying these things on social media, and I'm going to kick off the new channel, and I'm going to call it Dungeons and Rantings, and I'm going to go in, and I'm going to tell people what's what. I'm going to rip them a new one, and I'm going to be the madman of the airwaves, and just put people in their place and tell them, exactly how it's going to be. And kind of the more I thought about that, the less appealing it became. And it does boil down to how appealing this is or is not to me. And the more I thought about it, the less I wanted things to be that way. Not because I'm not passionate about the hobby. It's just the part of the hobby that I'm passionate about kind of passes under the radar of most of the rest of the hobby. There's not a lot going on, for example, that, say, I don't know, Games Workshop gets up to that really impacts what I do. Now, in a video in the near future, I'm probably going to talk about Games Workshop some, but it's not going to be in a sense of, well, we have to do this because 8th edition is out and Age of Sigmar is the other, and boy, Games Workshop prices are this. That's just not where I want to be. There's a tremendous amount of energy, but a lot of it's negative energy. And it's not that I'm not passionate about the hobby of tabletop gaming, whether it's vintage D&D, whether it's brand new D&D. It's just, what do I want to spend my energy on? Do I want to constantly be mad and constantly face attacks from people who elf game differently than I do? No, not really. So, if I was gonna if I was gonna call this anything, if I was gonna name it anything, it would be more Dungeons and Ramblins, more of a positive spin. So when I go into long grandpa talks like this, it's less of a Delver mad, and more of a, hey, back in the day, or the other day, or tomorrow, or whatever, I'm going to do this cool thing. So that's really more the wavelength I want to be on, and that's more the direction I want to go. As to what I have actually been up to in the interim, gaming oriented, I've been having a lot of fun lately out at Gods and Monsters, link to them below, doing a couple of times a month, once or twice a month. I've been running roadshow D&D games out there. Been attracting an okay crowd. Kind of had an off time around the holidays, but that's all right. I figure, December, January, people have got their minds elsewhere than, going and sitting for 4 or 5 hours and playing D&D, and that's fine. So, gonna kind of adjust that a little bit, sort of trim the flaps some, and restart that up here, if not in the latter half of this month, then in the latter half of next month. This month being February of 2018, next month obviously being March of 2018. So what I'll be doing out there will be running a game for anywhere from 6 to 8 players, a classic RPG or an RPG that has many nods to the classic. And what I mean by that would be a game like, for example, Tales from the Loop, which is a fantastic game, to kind of dovetail into talking about Tales from the Loop a little bit. If you've seen Stranger Things, first of all, if you haven't seen Stranger Things, pause this, go watch Stranger Things, and come back. We'll wait. Okay, are you back yet? Good. Did you love it? I thought you would. Both seasons, I hope. But to go back to Tales from the Loop, Tales from the Loop is a big dollop of Stranger Things, little pinch of Back to the Future, just a whole lot of diverse sci-fi horror elements mixed in, and it's all set in the 1980s. Character creation is just super duper simple. You can do it in just a couple of minutes, and I like the system a lot, and it feels like it all comes down to the hands of the game master, but to me as a game master, the game feels like an old school kind of role-playing game, and I like that a lot. So I've kind of given you a capsule review of it there, I guess, sort of buried the lead a little bit, but yeah, I will run run Stranger Things, good lord. I will run Tales from the Loop out there at Gods and Monsters. If there's a crowd big enough that wants to play Tales from the Loop, we'll do that. Classic D&D, I might pack up a couple of good tactical board games like Space Hulk and take that out there and play. It just kind of comes down to what I feel like, and I'm just kind of going from there, and that's been a lot of fun. Todd and Anna and all their wonderful staff at Gods and Monsters have been just great helping me getting this going. So I'm looking forward to doing a lot of that. I've been painting an awful lot. I know I kind of did some craft videos, some crappy craft videos, where I talked a lot about miniatures and that sort of thing, but and I want to do more of those better craft videos, and I'll talk about technical stuff in a minute, but so yeah, I've been painting a lot. I've had a lot on my bench. What I've got going right now is some Sisters of Battle that I'm painting up for my wife. I've got, after that, I want to finish my Space Hulk Terminators. I love the Space Hulk board games. I think they're great. I got the Deathwing computer game for Christmas. That's loads of fun. So yeah, I want to finish up all my Terminators and all my Gene Stealers. And if you don't know about Space Hulk, I'm going to do an episode where I talk about Space Hulk, but briefly, Terminators are spacemen in power armor, and Gene Stealers, just picture the aliens from the Alien movie, and it's all crammed inside a wrecked spaceship. So yeah, I've been painting up loads of those guys, and it gets a little boring after a while, painting the same color over and over again, because you got 10 figures and they're all wearing, well, a uniform, and the uniforms are all the same color, and so it gets a little tedious. So I tend to want to take breaks away from it where I'm not painting. So that means that the character minis, the fantasy minis that I've also got on the back burner to paint, tend to get left by the wayside. But hopefully once I finish the Games Workshop stuff, the 40K stuff, I'll be done. I'll never go back to it again. I'm not a 40K player. I got the Sisters of Battle from my wife a long time ago, and I'm finally getting around to painting them up. The Terminators and the Gene Stealers come with Space Hulk, so obviously I'll be painting those up. And the other little bits of 40K that I have is I have a whole lot of Tau, which are this very cool alien race that they introduced back in the 90s into Space Hulk, that I will probably finish painting up, and at that point, that is it. Don't think that I'm going to run out. Oh, I'm going to get some Catachan Guard, and I'm going to get some Chaos Space Marines, and then I'll get some Dark... No. Nobody, no. That's it. I don't have the time. My fun is divided into a few sessions of AD&D a week, 2 of which are virtual. And so, yeah, I don't want to get caught up in 40K also. The Tau minis I keep handy for the occasional rare science fiction game when I need some cool looking but not biological horror type aliens to throw out on the field. So that's all that's going on there. Another cool thing on the miniatures front is I got to give a big shout out to my buddy Joe Russo. Todd up at Gods and Monsters introduced Joe and I. And back in, I believe, May or June, Joe was kind enough to give me about 250 or 300 miniatures, little over half of which, maybe as many as 2/3, were already painted by him over the years. So now the big thing is finding shelf space to put these gorgeously painted miniatures on. Joe's not really in the role-playing game hobby. He was a miniature painter, but he was just like, yeah, I want to get rid of all these, and well, I'll just find somebody and give them to him. Well, that somebody happened to be me, courtesy of Todd. So now I have boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of miniatures. I'm going to be an old myopic man before I finish up this massive pile of metal that I have to paint up. I mean, I just finally finished going through them just before Christmas, and it's so many miniatures, and it was a wonderful gift, and I thank Joe from the bottom of my heart, because there's so much neat stuff in there. There's Grenadier miniatures going all the way back to the early 1980s, all the way up to, there were Warhammer Fantasy miniatures in there from the late 90s, and everything in between. Reaper, Ral Parth, I think there's some of the old Prince August minis are in there. So yeah, it's quite a nice collection of metal that is both painted and needs to be painted. So I'll be busy for quite a while with that. As to future topics that I want to talk about, like I said, there are some games I'd like to talk about. Tales from the Loop, again, is a fantastic game. Expect a review of that coming up soon in this next run of podcasts. I want to talk about Space Hulk again. If you've never played, believe me, it is a fantastic game. It is phenomenal. I highly recommend it. I can't say enough good things about Space Hulk. I guess I put my tongue in cheek and say Space Hulk is so good I can hardly believe it was created by Games Workshop. I'm going to talk about a lot of fun little things that I've got sitting around here that I haven't really, I didn't really know what to do with, but I know now that I'll talk about them on the show, as it were, the podcasts. I've got, I'm looking right now, I've got a Car Wars set. Steve Jackson Games released kind of a vintage looking Car Wars set. No, unfortunately, it's not in a plastic snap case. It's in a small cardboard box. But, so yeah, I want to talk about Car Wars. I want to talk about, likewise, I've got Ogre. They did an Ogre reissue that it actually is the same size and format as the original micro game that was released in a small Ziploc baggie. So there's just a lot of things like that I do want to talk about, and I do want to do videos of. I want to do more crafting videos. Like I said, I've got a lot of painting to do. I want to talk a lot about that. Now, I'm no professional painter, believe me. I'm not somebody to listen to when I say, well, this is how you should paint. Here, I'm going to give you a lesson on painting. And what I say is the best way to do it. No, I'm just going to talk about the few techniques I've got, and probably link to a lot of people who are better painters than me. And that's not a humble brag. That's just kind of the way it is. As far as events coming up for me, I am going to be at GaryCon 10. I will be at GaryCon 10, and I'll talk a little bit in just a minute about what I'm going to be doing there. Also, if you're in the Central Florida area, or if you're going to come to the Central Florida area for MegaCon in, I think MegaCon is Memorial Day weekend, I will be at MegaCon, and I might be at Dice Tower Con, which is July 4th. So those are two Florida-located conventions where I will be running some classic AD&D, and that's what it is going to be. I mean, that's my first and best love when it comes to role-playing games. So it'll be classic AD&D at MegaCon and at Dice Tower Con. So as for GaryCon, I will be running Teeth of the Barkash Nor. Now, if you don't know the story behind Teeth of the Barkash Noor, the game story behind Teeth of the Barkash Noor, if you go grab your Dungeon Master's Guide, we'll wait. Okay, are you back? Good. The Teeth of the Dalvernar are an artifact level magic item detailed in the Dungeon Master's Guide. And I have written a module. Well, that's not exactly true. I'm kind of skipping over a lot of detail. I was hired by Gary Gygax before he passed away to take Gary's notes detailing a quest through a dimension reached by entering Castle Greyhawk to locate the teeth. And so I took these notes and I wrote a module for Gary. Now, the short version of what happened was that before the module could be published, Gary passed away. And I thought about including the long version of what actually happened with the publication of that module in this podcast. That's going to be a separate one. I'll probably make it the next one. You know how I said I wasn't going to do, dungeons and ranting, but just more dungeons and rambling? Yeah, the next one's going to be kind of ranty. I'm going to have to think long and hard about how I'm going to say what I want to say. I already know what I want to say, but let's just say if you kept your ear close to web forums that I frequent on specifically Knights and Knaves, you might know the gist of the story. I just need to be a little bit more polite for my listening public when I spiel this thing out. Because I don't want to lend the impression that I'm just a crank any more than I already am. So to talk briefly, though, we'll set that aside and we'll come back to it. To talk briefly a bit about technical issues that have been kind of cropping up and keeping me from doing too many videos is the quality of the first videos I did was terrible. And that's not a fishing statement like, oh, please put in the comments, no, Bill, your videos were great. Because they were terrible. I looked like I had jaundice. The lighting was bad. The sound wasn't great, but it was at least serviceable. But part of the problem was that, well, I had this very, very, very nice, fancy Logitech webcam. It does 1080p. It was fairly expensive. I think it was like $120, which is webcams go is kind of expensive, I guess. But I thought this will be it. I will be able to do my podcast. Now, if I was sitting still right in front of the monitor with the camera pointing at my handsome face, it would have been fine. But the thing is, a lot of what I wanted to do was show off books, miniatures, things that I had painted, terrain, and that sort of thing. And the webcam, at least in the way that I was using it, was not ideal for that. There were focus problems. I could never get anything into focus. And because of where my monitors are set up versus where I was using the webcam, I was never able to easily watch what I was doing so that I could bring things into focus easily. With the net result being that if you go back and you watch those videos, things are exceedingly blurry and out of focus. The lighting is all wonky, and they don't look good. I don't think I'm ever going to go back and redo them. I may touch on the subjects again, so hopefully you can get a better look. But I mean, it came down to the point where I used a video, or rather, I used photos from Otherworld Miniatures' website of the minis that I was reviewing and praising. Excuse me, and praising because they looked terrible in my video, and I felt I wasn't doing them justice. And I didn't want to prop up Dwarven Forge, and it looked just as bad. So the alternative that I've been able to come up with is to use a webcam. Good Lord, to use a camcorder. I have a Sony Handycam that does. It shoots in 2K resolution. It's got a viewfinder where I can point the camera at me and flip the viewfinder around and look at it looking at me to make sure that I'm staying centered and I'm not staring off into space. Or when I'm showing something on the camera, again, I can make sure it's centered. I can make sure that autofocus is doing its trick, and that I'm not constantly moving in and out trying to keep the poor camera's focus going. And it's a little bit better with light. I can manage the white balance and that sort of thing a little bit better. So basically, it's been a technical issue in getting a lot of the videos out. So hopefully now that I've got this camcorder, and it's going to behave a little bit better with the lighting setup that I've got, which is still nowhere near what you'd want for a studio. It's some bright white daylight style lights. It's just the camera is better with white levels. Hopefully, as far as actual videos and not just podcasty kind of things for me here, I'll be able to do more of those, more crafting videos, more review videos where I can show you the thing that I'm actually reviewing and so on. And that's really about what's going on. Again, coming up real soon, there's going to be another video where I talk exclusively about Teeth of the Barkish Nora. It'll be a more podcasty video than this one. Again, I do now have a Patreon set up. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe. If you want to support me on Patreon, that's great. I appreciate it. Thanks for listening. I'm coming back with more videos. I appreciate everyone's input and support. Particularly, I got to give a shout out to my man Alan Grodog. He has pretty much forever been, when are you doing another video? When's more videos coming? Oh, you're taking time off to do more videos? So Alan's been my one-man support and cheering squad for this particular endeavor. And I salute you, Alan. Thank you very much. And thank you all, everyone. Again, link, subscribe, like, thumbs up, all that jazz. And y'all have a good one. I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.